Thank you for staying with us as we get to the climax of the show for today, where we'll look at the essence of deepening, fight against corruption, looking at the tackling corruption in governance, and a close focus on the $5 billion loot, of Abacha and how it was spent. That will be the crux of today's discussion. As we start from my extreme left, where we have a distinguished guest to really drive this with us, starting from my extreme left, like I did say, Honorable Fred Uyigwe, who is the one-time or two-time aspirant to of governorship aspirant at Edo State under the party APC and CPC, and of course he was also House of Senate candidate in the 2023 election, and he is a business expert, a social media influencer. Honorable Fred Uyigwe, thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me, and good morning to you viewers.
And next to him is an economist, lecturer at University of Benin, and he is Dr. Presley Osamige. Thanks for joining, Dr.
Yeah,
Presley.
thank you, Philip. Good morning, Nigeria. Thank you for having me.
And of course, I have also former SSA to the governor of Edo State on youth and community development, Comrade Collins Osagai. Thanks for joining,
Philip, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, a lot is needed, to take our country to a level where we can all celebrate that, yeah, we're getting it rightly. Looking at what has been happening in terms of tackling corruption headlong, the Abacha $5 billion loot, that was recovered, and the court ruling on the fact that there should be an explanation on how this money was spent, either on road reconstruction or rehabilitation, or what was it used for. And unfortunately, it's a very sad narrative to see that even the Ministry of Finance, as report had it, that looking at the books, you can't even find how these monies were spent, and what contractor, or what's the name of the contractor, what location. A lot really begging for answer. So I first start with you, Honorable Fred. How do you look at this issue?
First and foremost, let us, address the issue of corruption. Corruption, it's a practice that goes a long way to destabilize any economy, especially when it's as pervasive as it is in our country. And like I always say, corruption cannot be exported. When I mean corruption cannot be exported, I'm saying that for every product and every service rendered in this country or produced in this country, or in any country where corruption is as pervasive as it is in Nigeria, all those products and services will carry an element of corruption, which makes it difficult for them to compete internally and especially externally, which is why I say corruption cannot be exported. So it is necessary that we do everything within our abilities to curb corruption and to reduce corruption to the barest minimum. Now we are all talking about the Abacha loot. It is not the only one that has been as scandalous as it is. Even as we are now, we are talking, we have the problem of the fuel subsidy scheme.
Yeah.
That which was definitely fraught with a very humongous corruption. And also the stamp duties. So there are very many scandals that have persisted over the years. But I will come to the Abacha issue. Let me just quickly mention that before I go back to the genesis of corruption, especially since independence. First, I want to also laud the present administration for the initiative at all to even look into this issue. I want to see it as the beginning of a good initiative.
Look into what issue?
Corruption, corruption, which is the return of Abacha's loot and how it was spent.
Oh, well, that was as a result of the court ruling and not really necessarily as a result of the government under Tinubu.
Oh, okay.
It was the court ruling, that ruled in favor of SERAP, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, that sued the government on the need to open their books for us to see how that amount was spent.
Exactly.
And not from the government's
And I would not
initiative.
speculate. Given the normal processes and procedures of accounting, okay, incoming receipts or revenues, that now comes back as revenue, will go into a general account. So there will be no specific projects tied to it necessarily.
Seriously?
But into a general account of revenues.
I don't get it, because ideally,
yes,
any fund you are deploying for any project,
yes,
should carry a purpose.
Yes.
Should carry the name of the contractor.
Good.
Should carry a location.
What I'm
should
saying,
carry, all of these weren't found in the books.
Let's get this straight. All revenues coming into a purse, into the treasury. And then you have your expenditure on different expenditure heads. Monies will be withdrawn from the revenue account to satisfy those expenditure heads, and not necessarily tying particular revenue sources to particular projects, unless there is a policy to that effect or there's a law to that effect. Where there are no laws and policies to that effect, all revenues go into a general purse, and from there, allocations are made for projects and expenditure.
Okay, but if we have to go by that,
yes,
even if all revenue goes there,
yes,
a proper accounting, will bring about the aspect of accountability. In terms of if all revenue goes there,
yes,
you should be able to capture an amount of money that was recovered from the loot,
yes,
and so day, yes, it was, injected into the revenue.
Thank you.
And from that transaction,
yes,
we can also pinpoint how much is being spent, on a particular project. That can also bring about a balance. I'm not an accountant, but yes, I know that there's a trial balance when it comes to balancing the ledgers, balancing the books.
Yes.
Otherwise, if you don't have these proper tools,
yes,
to look at the books, yes, there won't be a balance. So the Nigerians are asking mind-boggling questions about how did the government spend $5 billion US?
See, this is not a matter that is supposed to be as complicated as the court case and the media tries to make of it. All that is needed to do is whether the amounts were entered in as receipts into the Federation account, and whether it reflected in the new balance. Because when you receive an amount and you add it to what you have, then you have a new balance.
Yeah.
And that is all that is needed to do. All the court has said is that the government should open the books to make sure, yes, that money was not diverted.
Yes, starting from the administration of former President Obasanjo up to Yaradua, Jonathan and the predecessor of President Tinubu, Muhammadu Buhari.
The accounting records should very easily reflect what happened to those revenues.
Okay.
If they came in and they were received properly into the Federation account, then it would only follow that it will be added to either the present budget through supplementary applications or supplementary budgeting or into subsequent budgets through normal budgeting processes.
Okay. Now, let's take a dive into a perspective of an economist.
Yes.
Now, the books were just being analyzed, the way money is being thrown into revenue, and could that be what happened? Could that be why we're not able to see government accounting for this $5 billion US? Now, what do you make of that? Do you see that as the right way of, accounting for, monies received and how they're spent?
Thank you, Mr. Philip. I think with all due respect to the late Abacha, I want to say is the only ancestor, though dead, who has kept sending money, to Nigeria. And I want to say this. Let's make some distinctions when it comes to the issue of Abacha's loot. The only reason why we are here discussing Abacha loot is because this man is dead. If Abacha was to be alive as we speak, I don't think this loot and all previous ones that have been, recovered, we actually
see the light
recovered.
Of the day.
Yeah, see the light of day. Because there are a lot of, ex-military generals who are still alive, myself, and we have only even some of them have also come back to serve as the civilian government. But yet nothing has been done to them. Even those people who have been indicted by one way or the other, court has been able to vindicate them due to just the issue of living, chasing, living substance and chasing, shadows. Now let's come back to the issue you just raised. Abacha loot, the $5 billion US. Boom has been opened. Now, my only fear and worry is this: those Serap have done well, asking the court to ask, previous governments to explain how those money, was used, and to find out if actually those money were looted.
And how much was really looted by the former military dictator, though late?
Yeah, with the letter I said, a specific people have not been assigned. Before you know it, we hear that in the U.S., about 33.4 million.
There seems not to be an end to this reform.
That I said is the only ancestor, though dead, keep sending money to us. I think thank you very much, the late Abacha, for that. Because there are some people who are living, who are served in the past, who have even done worse than what Abacha has done.
Who have been celebrated today.
Yes, and today they have been given extended title. Like I said, some people came back to say, oh, I want to vie for presidency, I want to vie for position and all of that. So
some conspired with Abacha.
Exactly, all of them, yes. They were co-conspirators, now they were there. But now because Abacha is there, let's not forget in a hurry what the family said. They said even if the government of the day as at then, kept putting pressure on them to recover this loot and all of that, that they will not be as poor as Dangote. Let's not forget that in the hurry. That means the looting was massive. The looting, I don't know how to describe it. The issue of the court ruling, here is my concern. I want the court, because we've seen the issue of whereby judgment will be given, successive governments, no regard for the rule of law. They can easily, because they're in power, the government is still in power, they can easily sway away and ensure that, the judgment may not see the light of the day. I was expecting, the court to tie, this Abacha loot specifically to an individual, to pinpoint. Let it be a proper investigation and identifying what have been looted, if there's anything like that, and a specific figure should be, mentioned. And again, so that the direction for the examination and analysis of this, loot will be very, open and very transparent. Because the idea of saying let previous government, beginning from Olusegun Obasanjo, the late Adwan, Jonathan, and even Buhari, let it come and explain. They are not interested in the issue of explanation. Let figure be tied to a certain amount that will be stolen, and let each of these government, and let names be mentioned, and let it be specific. Because we are saying about Olusegun's government, who are we going to hold accountable? Is it president then to come and explain to us?
Accountant General?
Is it Accountant General or whoever? Let this thing be assigned specifically to an individual to say, oh, this commissioner or whoever, or the minister, whoever, as at them, so amount of money for Abacha loot were looted. Come and explain.
Okay. Before I let go of you on this, let's look at how it should have been done in terms of accounting for this money. Now, the government gets this amount of money. Do you just throw it into the general account?
No, according to, I think Friday, when I followed up, the last government, and based on the arrangement by the US, they reached an agreement that the money, the loot, that was funded should be tied to specific projects. Now, they tied it, by my, I think what I read, it was tied to the second Niger bridge. And it was tied to Lagos about the expressway and the Kaduna-Kanu, expressway.
But how come we don't have the books in the Ministry of Finance?
That's the problem. Like I said, it should be specific. If such information are not there, again, let's ask the government. I think, let's also forget, I think it was last year when they said part of the loot, rather going to building of the second Niger bridge. And also then was calling for, funding of the university. And there was a lot of clamor that this money should be, as put to the budget to fund education properly. Because there was a law protracted strike and also was saying that the university was underfunded. And let this money be tied to this funding, but everything falls on deaf ears. But right now, I want to, thank Sarah. They are doing a nice job. And most importantly, and I want this job to continue. And let me be mentioned. Like I said, let's go straight to specifics. Let people be mentioned and be indicted so that the accounting processes will be transparent and let Nigeria, be part of it. I don't believe in media trial. I hope this one will also end like the way other previous, ones ended.
Exactly. Like questions have been raised. Now, it's expected that the present government should give a head start on how these monies were spent.
Exactly, the way the government was very swift in removing fuel subsidy. Let us also come up with such issue. So that let us expedite action. I believe in let's open the book, the way it should be.
Okay, now let's get your perception about this, Comrade Collins. Now, this is the APC government, and President Tinubu, a lot has been said that does he have the political will, to fight corruption? He has been a member of the APC, and even while former President Muhammadu Buhari was in power, the anti-graft issues, that came up with his administration, a lot of persons, even on the papers today, are saying that his administration was the ugliest in terms of fighting corruption. And now the president, as we speak, was also a member of the party all along. Now, do you see the political will, to get these books out or to see how all of these ex-presidents, can be made to account on how this money was spent?
He was not just a member of the party, he was a leader of the party.
A leader, a chieftain.
Thank you very much. First, I want to commend and appreciate Sarah for doing what they have done, though over the time, non-governmental organization have had to have this opportunity of wanting to check the SSCs of government and those in government. But sometimes you find out that those who are supposed to help to either prosecute them or do the reinvestigation end up being the one asked to be investigated again. But however, all hope is never lost. That is why I personally have been very confident about the leadership of Bola Ahmed Asiwaju. And I'm also very glad that this order came from the court at the time it needed to come. And why you saw that many of them didn't want likes like him to come was that when authority like this is being given by a court to do the needful, it will be better or not playing political vendetta, but obeying court order as a way of having been assigned.
So you see him obeying the court order?
Wonderful. Do you know why it will be wonderful? He has been the one advocating for modern infrastructure. And we have seen that again with his constant pouring, that there was a time to reinition Africa, not just Nigeria. things have to start again. Those who have looted enough from us should stop. Let our people get succor. And he's ready to lead it. How is he going to lead some of these things? He needs finance. And how is he going to get finance? You have to invade those who have stolen from government by way of gathering them. That was what Muhammad Buhari did literally when he just came. When you saw volunteers, I stole, take, leave me. I stole, they were bringing. Now the court has said, do this. You see why people like former President Olusegun Obasanjo didn't want someone like Asiwaju in the first place. And even some of those old generals and those who have been in government, many of them actually stood so hard to make sure he doesn't come, because you know what? He himself is the master of Godfather. So nobody, he is not subject to anybody.
Okay, the president, you're saying?
Of course.
Is even the master of Godfather?
Of course, because he groomed people without being groomed by anyone to be set in their life now. So you cannot call him to come and kneel before you and give him conditions. So they wanted someone they would prepare, rebrand, powder and wear pampers and send on an errand. But unfortunately, God decided the other way around.
Okay.
Now you now have someone who will say, oh, wonderful. They said $5 billion US. The paper is clear. When you get money, if you like, deploy it to ministries or deploy it to agencies. If you like, don't deploy it. But at least someone signed for it.
Okay.
So then we start from the person who signed for me.
Okay. There's a little bit of fear, like what you just said, using your word, the president being the master of Godfather.
Of course, he grew. A godfather, let me explain.
To
be a godfather politically,
if
I am officer before you come in. So I wouldn't be misquoted. Being a godfather politically means there are so much persons you have groomed,
of course,
who are under your tutelage.
That you may also protect when it comes to issues of allegations or indictments, like we had reports even where it was alleged that even while he visited the former president, Muhammad Buhari, in London, a lot was said on the need to shield the ex-president and his cronies, from being published in terms of how, issues concerning monies were spent. Now, if you look at that again, that's another challenge. We don't know if that's going to see the light of the day. Then the issue about the former EFCC chairman, that was suspended, Bauer, a lot is still being expected on what is coming out from that. Now, a lot of things happened even while he, assumed office, duties. And we seem to be suspended, like in the dark. We are not seeing, results of all of these arrest or detention or issues flying about to give an impression that, yes, he wants to ensure that he tackles, issues of corruption headlong. How are you not sure that this will also pass away without him even giving attention to it?
It can't pass
Being,
away. Some
in your words,
some may pass
the
away.
mastery of Godfatherism.
Some may pass away. It's normal. Some may not pass away, because if you want to open the Nigerian book for the next 30 years, will still be opening, because there will be a lot of decadence. There will be a lot of ills piled up. So you can't, but there are some that are very sacrosanct, urgent, to be quickly cashed upon. Now, do you know, you talked about Bauer. Now, the president was never arrested by EFCC, nor was he being tried by EFCC. Otherwise, people would have said, oh, he was being tried by EFCC. We have had successive government, even the immediate government that just passed, though from his party, but were against him from beginning till the very last minute. You and I can count how many days Asiwaju visited Villa for the 8 years of Muhammadu Buhari. I can bet you, if not after the primary, putting them together for 8 years, I'm sure it's not up to 10 times. Now, that simply means the man governed independently. Nobody. But if there was any need that he had cockroaches in his cupboard, I can tell you with the way, the same chronic you are talking about, and the president went against him in the last election that just finished, then you can be sure that they would have since placed him on a special arrest.
When you say the president went against him, I don't understand.
Yes. It's making a very interesting, case.
Now let me tell you, it's my party. We are all Nigerians. We all saw all the indices. The starvation, the late policies, very late policies, that angered Nigeria, which politicians will not even do by any means.
Like the withdrawal policy on the CBN.
Fuel issues, Naira issues, many others. The ASU strike that lasted for how many months? The NSAS that was allowed to aggravate, the so-called Lekito Gate, all the propaganda that came, and you never saw the presidency speaking.
All by an APC government.
I am coming, sir, please.
Yes, sir.
I didn't interject you. Now, at the end of the day, all were geared towards a mission, but it failed. Now, let me tell you, if it failed, if the former President Muhammadu Buhari could be so active, to have done what he did, that's what to tell you that there will be an institution too that will be active. Okay. If he's found wanting, he will be persecuted.
You seem to be indicting the former president as being deliberate in all of this drive, to frustrate the efforts of the current president.
Yes, what you're saying? Yes, why I'm saying this and what I have said, owing to their relationship did not go as a party-man relationship. So he was left so independently to fight his fight and struggle for himself with those who liked him, not even on the party arena. Because even 65% of those who were at the party end of affair really didn't even want him. But
are you saying the relationship he had with the former president was toxic?
Was not too cordial. And most of the so-called cronies you have talked about were on a mission to make sure they destabilized him. So if they were on a mission to destabilize him and they have a lot of ease that they have committed, I can bet you nothing will spare them.
Okay. Are you saying, let's get this right.
We spare them.
You are a member of the All Progressive.
Of course, very well.
Are you saying by all that the president may go personal?
He's not going personal.
No, because that's what you just said.
It was based on your question.
All of these policies were deliberate, to frustrate him
while
he was gunning for presidency.
Yes.
So now that he's the president, he's not going to spare.
Now let me tell you.
So that means he's going to take it personal.
You will not allow me.
Although you are not the spokesperson of the president.
No, you will let me finish here. I am not speaking for the president, but I am telling you as a Nigerian, as a party man, too. Because you said, quote unquote, based on your question, President Muhammadu Buhari pleaded for his cronies. Who were his cronies?
As allegations have it.
I am coming now, immediate aides. Those who assisted and worked with him. Now I told you, those same people who assisted and worked with him also did all they can to frustrate this man who is now president. That not to tell you that the rule of law will be allowed to take place. If the law has said they should be persecuted, he will not spare any of them, because they also went very far not to also spare him, even when the law did not ask them to persecute him.
The president will swing back to you. The president will swing back to you.
If he doesn't do it, persons like me will be unhappy with him if he doesn't probe the Ministry of Transport, if he doesn't probe the Ministry of Humanitarian, if he doesn't probe the Ministry of Justice headed by Malami, if he doesn't probe the Ministry of Transport outside headed by Amechi, and even the Ministry of Infrastructure and Works headed by my very good friend Fashola, who did well in some part of this country. He must also investigate him so that we tell us what happened to some major roads in the south that did not get succor when we knew some of them were in the budget. So this is governance. Governance must continue.
Let's see your reactions in that, Fred. Because a lot of persons are having this feelings that, the president may not do as such in terms of, looking at the past administration.
I'm actually very encouraged by the position taken by the Honorable, especially telling us, insinuating that what we are just seeing now with this investigation and response, quick response to the court order, is just the beginning of what we could see.
A tip on the iceberg.
A tip of the iceberg. Of course. And given his reason, I hope the APC leadership is of the same sentiments as you are advancing.
But don't forget, it's his own opinion anyway.
Yes,
he's not the spokesperson of the Progressive Congress.
No, not at all. He is not. But he's giving us a direction or a light as to what he believes, and which is a plausible way of looking at what is happening. But I will insist that regardless of what revenues come into federation accounts, or what revenues are recovered, they cannot be operated outside a budget. Okay? What we do not know, why I said earlier that I would not want to speculate, is if Sarah has in their investigation found out that the recovered loots were not reflected in the budgets. Though the conditions, like my friend here said, might have been that whatever was recovered should be channeled to specific projects. In other words, they should be dedicated to specific projects. Even if they are going to be dedicated to specific projects, they must still be reflected in the budget.
Of course.
So it is not rocket science to investigate what happened to the loots. The Office of the Accountant General is there for everybody, for anybody, any citizen to visit. But we can understand that usually government officials tend to be secretive about government functions.
And even government
Yes,
spending.
And especially the expenditure. Thank you. So that is why Sarah has gone to court to say, we need a court order. Since they are not following the FIBI, the Information
Freedom of
Information
Act.
Since they are not complying, so they would have stood on that to go before the court to say, look, let them obey what the Freedom of Information Act stipulates.
Oh, okay, now
So
let's get your opinion.
Yes,
now, we have a president.
Yes.
In the then chieftain of the All Progressive Congress, now the leader of the party,
yes,
as the president. Some are having some cold feelings that he may not necessarily, open the books or obey court order, for all of these issues concerning transparency, accountability, along this line of the Abacha loot, to be fished out and dealt with. But do you think he's going to do that, looking at obeying the court order?
It will be an opinion.
Yeah.
And I don't like to be too opinionated. Okay? Let's see how he would handle these things. I think his administration is less than 2 months old, just about 2 months. Okay? So it's less than 2 months old. Let's see. One of the first things he did was to remove fuel subsidy. That was a very drastic measure, economic measure. And now he's responding appreciably to the court order to investigate the Abacha loot recovery.
How do you say, why do you say he's responding appreciably?
Because the judgment was only recent.
But we've not seen steps taken from the government angle that will make you say that he's responding appreciably.
I believe, okay, what we have now, it's the court order.
Yes, of course. And what we expect,
and
the nudges we are given
is
that the court order be obeyed and let the books be opened. So that we can have all of these issues trashed.
So
because Nigeria is a country, that, constitutionally,
yes,
enshrines the Freedom of Information Act.
Yes.
And if we look at that in all of this, even in that of the Constitution, it's expected that the Section 7, Section 4 of the Freedom of Information Act, be really giving focus in terms of the government of the day. If we have a democratic government, then that is exactly what the government should be looking towards. Don't you think so?
Okay, I'll give an example with the United States. Okay, if you need any government information, all you have to do is pay a token, which is maybe for photocopy services, to be able to get the information. You pay a token, something like $1, in some places $6, $5, and the government will give you, because the government, the public records are supposed to be transparent,
open yeah.
to the public. So if you want it, you pay $5 or $6 and with a pre-printed application, and then you'll be supplied with it so that you can conduct your research.
Can't we have this?
Or investigation.
Can't we have this in this country?
I don't know if that is included in the Freedom of Information Act. Because that is one of the elements that you will have there that will actually assure transparency. What we are crying for right now is transparency. And the government of the day, and every government anyway, for that matter, is supposed to take that responsibility very seriously. What we hope is that this administration will be transparent, this administration will be prudent,
okay,
and sincere. That is the hope of Nigerians. Until we see that, but I will not want to begin to judge this administration just yet because it is still under 2 months old.
Okay. Okay, no. I think a lot has been said, and let's look at how we can take it to another level. Now, we have 3 organs of government.
Yes.
Of course, the judiciary is already acting on this. The executive basically we have the nudge that they should also act speedily in order to open the books so that Nigerians can peruse the books and see, what is really going on in terms of the Abacha loot of $5 billion that we are having in the eye of the storm. But again, what then should also be the role of the National Assembly? Now, we've had different numbers of National Assembly, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, and today we have the 10th, that looked at all of this, that were opportune to be present when all of this happened. But I don't know. What do you think their role should be? Are we feeling their pause in terms? Are we feeling the roles that they are supposed to be, deploying into this in order to bring transparency in these books as we have just now?
Mr. Philip, I think at this moment I don't want to be emotional. It is very sad, to hear, some persons talk to the confidentiality or the ability of this government to deliver on good governance or to deliver on the issue of transparency and accountability. It's very sad. It's too early, to make such, allusion. Let me quickly give us a reminder that the same as Shiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, when he was the governor of Lagos State, was indicted by the then EFCC chairman, who today who is now the security
National Security Advisor.
Padu. The same thing happened to the Secretary Federation, was indicted when he was a governor, who is now also the Secretary of Federation today. I have no confidence. Let me say this.
Okay.
Because when the issue of people swayed saying, oh, this government actually is going to do this, do that.
Okay, but we're yet to see. I think that's opinion. Just as it's also his opinion. Because when you talk about indictment, when you talk about Dr. Presley, when you talk about indictment, excuse me, you have the floor. When you talk about indictment, when you talk about indictment, excuse me, you still have the floor. You still have the floor.
I'm not going back. I'm saying the way it is. I'm saying this because the persons, a particular president I had so much confidence in was Buhari in 2015, 2016 when he was coming.
Okay, but it's very important. It's very important if you make mention of any indictment here at the National TV. You should have statistics.
I'm coming.
Yes.
I'm providing
Otherwise,
evidence.
they will just be mere opinions.
This is not an opinion. This is not
Who said? Just the same way.
You can react to that after he's finished.
Just the same way he was indicted in the US, that he covered up and bailed up himself and paid some money out. Today they said, oh, there was no.
Although we have them as allegations anyway.
It's not allegation. He paid it off. He paid off just the way.
That is incontrovertible.
No. It's not.
I think it is incontrovertible that he did that.
He paid it off. Just the same way we have some governors who are stealing, who go on settlement. And so, okay, let me
that does not fall in. That does not fall into what you're just saying now. Does not fall into what we're discussing.
Yes, it falls.
So you can't say that. You can't say that.
No, it is.
You can't say that. But I'll quickly pause you there. I'll come back to you. But let's get your reactions on this.
No, you can't.
Thank you. Because one, I am very happy you have, over the time, appealed for us to have justification to what we say. Now I'm happy. FBI gave a free clearance to say there was never criminal charges against this person. And still in our assumption, we will still go ahead because that's what we feel. Because someone said it. When the main authority came, some person said, this person didn't go to school. You didn't go to Chicago school. Chicago wrote and gave a testimonial to that effect. That yes, this is my student. And some person is saying, no, he's not your student. No, it's only in this country we hold on to things without evidence. Now, Nuhu Ribadu administration, Obasanjo administration has been the clarion call we have called in this country. That the way himself and Asiwaju was anti. We expected that the hit of him, BDP being in government thus far, would continue to fight him. And now when the FCC went after him, they couldn't find anything. ICPC, when they couldn't find anything, they themselves said so. Then Code of Conduct Bureau was now introduced. The Code of Conduct Bureau was introduced, which he also went there and said his part, lying on him on how he was given a plain sheet. That was where Saraki even went to him and said, oh, on this as a way of reference.
So what you're saying is that the so-called indictment was of no consequence?
There was no indictment.
Oh.
Mr. Phillips.
No.
The way you flatter me out, I'm happy.
No,
if you ask me a question,
the state of Chicago
if there is
papers
an
are there.
indictment, there will be a trial.
Okay.
Right?
Not
Because
necessarily.
one, he has not been
Not necessarily,
even a
sir.
member of that party. He has not even been friend to them. So how can you imagine or expect? Then if there was an indictment and was not made to people, EFCC is the one that tries people. You take them, they take people to court.
Okay.
And after which court imprison people.
Okay.
How can EFCC now do
Let me
an
pause you
indictment and you did not follow?
Let me pause you there. You know, sometimes I can cut in. I'm the referee, and
Yeah,
sometimes I can issue a yellow card. Or if you take it too much, I give you a red card. Now, what we should be doing here is we should be very, very sensitive to the fact that we are educating the viewers, and we shouldn't really, bring emotions or what will, bring about a cut in the support of the people for the present government, because we are all about the government to succeed.
Yes.
So while we speak, we should be objective, without necessarily raising emotions. You have the floor.
Thank you
before
very
I come
much.
back to you,
Thank
Fred.
you for coming back to me. Now you are a fair judge.
A good ref.
A good ref. Now, I was making a point. First, why would this administration even wait for Serap to come up with the issue of Abacha's loot? I'm not even making allusion only to Abacha's loot. There's a lot of decadence in the society that was rotting by the past administration that has not been investigated. A paramount one is the issue of subsidy, scandals.
Yeah.
That has been, even to the small child, we all know, a lot has been done in terms of damage economically to the country by way of this, subsidy removal. Again, I ask myself, subsidy has been removed. There was a particular issue regarding the immediate past Minister of Aviation as touching how Ethiopian Airlines was, given a Nigeria collaboration, and billions were spent, and yet nothing has been done by this same administration. This is almost 2 months into by this administration. Somebody is telling me that we have confidence in administration.
But earlier you said that it's too young for us to make. Earlier you said that it's too young for us to conclude on how the government.
That's what I said.
So why are you now taking the other
I'm
talk?
coming. I said these are clear cases that are glaring. The issue of bringing an airline, Ethiopian airline, to Nigeria, having Nigeria collaboration, and the next day the airline was flown back to Ethiopia. And it was never seen the light of the day yet. Nothing has been said.
So you fear that that may not see the light of the day under President Tinubu?
When it comes to the issue of being partisan, I know I'm actually is a core APC man. Like I envy him. He's a leader. He's a maker of men. I love that about him. But let him also take the courage to also ask questions about critical assets that will, improve the life of Nigerians. What I'm interested in is the overall development or the well-being of our people, including my own self, so that we can have a better country, safe for our future children.
Okay.
I'm not interested in president, but let's do it right. Let's start right. Because I don't make the idea of saying, oh, we think it will. I don't believe in think it will. Because that's my opinion. Because let the right thing be done. Now, we spend 1 month past, 1 month plus regarding the issue, of subsidy. Let this government also come up openly to tell us what has been realized so far from this 1 month, what they realized from subsidy removal. Just the same way they've not been able to explain to us how they arrived the current pump price. Now they are telling us that, fuel will soon increase, or in the name of a Russian, trying to cut, reduce quota. Man, it is sad. It's only in Nigeria, like I said, we hear all these things. They are never interested when the international price market is falling. They are never interested, let us reduce price. It's only when there's a little, shaking. They'll come up with different shenanigans, give explanation to reason why price will increase so that an average Nigerian will be punished.
Okay.
The burden is too much, and this should be stopped.
Okay, thank you. I think you've expressed yourself.
Yes, exactly.
But because he made mention of indictment, and I don't know if you want to add to that.
I don't know what
so that you
indictment.
can clear,
Yes,
you can ventilate your
exactly,
opinion in that
yes,
regard.
yes.
That the president was not indicted.
Regarding the issue of
Yes.
the investigation I was
Do
done
you
by-
agree?
Like I said, it was a settlement out of court.
Okay.
That's what happened.
Okay.
It was a settlement out of court.
Okay.
And he paid. He even alluded to that. He paid money for that settlement.
All right, let's get your reaction in all of this.
I want to speak to that. The court documents that have been presented and that have been flying around on social media and everywhere are definitely, I lived in the United States off and on for about 30 years. Definitely the court documents of the state of Chicago courts. So nobody can debate that, can argue that, or
Have you seen the
down
documents?
that. The court documents, they are,
Have you seen the documents?
yes, I have seen it on social media, and excuse me, sir.
You said social media.
No, excuse me.
I'm skeptical
No,
about.
you cannot be skeptical about social media. When you are talking about documents,
that we have not really scrutinized.
Look, excuse me.
Personally.
Excuse me.
How did you arrive at it?
Documents on social media necessarily do not have to be fake. And if anybody objects to what is being presented, the person is at liberty to go to the court or to sue for defamation.
Okay, come back to the
coming back
basics.
to this, these are court documents that shows that he was in court and definitely indicted.
Okay, now come back.
And
Come back to the basis. Come back to the basis on him. On him having the courage, the will to look at these issues of opening the books. That's exactly what I asked you. So can you react in that direction?
I'm coming to that, sir. And so you can settle out of court before hearing.
Yes.
Before hearing. Yeah, you can settle out of court before hearing because it is costly for the courts to prosecute cases. And so they can decide to settle out of court. That is the government of the day. Okay. The prosecutor, the state prosecutor, can decide to settle out of court at any point.
And they will still tell you we're not criminally investigated.
No, because those documents are there.
But that's not the basis of discussion anyway.
So
we've digressed enough to come back home.
Let us not debate that. There were no allegations. There were allegations, and they were clear on the documents. They are clear on the documents. Let's go back to what we are
Nobody said there were no allegations. What some say that there's no indictment, like he said.
You can
allegations fly every day.
You have
but that there was no indictment.
If you have allegations, if you have documents,
but you are saying that there's an indictment.
Yes, that's an indictment. If you have no documents, that's an indictment.
We digress enough. So come back home.
That's an indictment.
Okay.
So it is.
Come back with you.
Okay.
So please.
Okay. Again, what I asked you was, do you see him as having the will, the courage, the political will, courage, to drive this to a point where the books will be opened, obeying the court order?
I don't want to have an opinion.
Oh, you said that earlier. You said that earlier.
For now, because his administration is still very young.
Okay.
Okay? But what we do expect is that Tinubu, being an accountant, because he served in a senior position in one of the oil companies as an accountant. So
Okay.
he definitely is an accountant. He will know better than you and I how to forensically investigate corruption cases. He will even be able to lecture on how to do so, because that's his specialization. What we expect is that he will not delay in opening up investigations or setting up commissions to investigate the several, like our friend here has said, the several corruption cases that have bedeviled this nation, especially the recent ones, which he alluded to. The fuel subsidy scheme was fraught with corruption. That is a humongous one. The stamp duty scheme, for which Mefele was arrested, is another humongous one. All those, I think they're actually bigger than the Abacha. They are bigger than the Abacha recovery scandal.
Okay.
So we expect that this very early on, given his specialization as an accountant, he should recognize that we cannot continue to survive under a corrupt system.
All right.
And so he should do something quickly. But he has not. So I'm still giving him a period of grace to quickly come to himself and do what we expect him to do.
Thank you. Just in case you're just watching us this morning on ITV, and we are looking at tackling corruption in governance with a special case on the court ruling on the $5 billion of the Abacha loot that was recovered. And this was said that the ex-president, starting from former President Olusegun Obasanjo, late Yaradua, and of course former President Jonathan Goodluck, and the President Muhammadu Buhari, should open the books in terms of giving an account on how this money was spent. I have with me Honorable Fred Uyugwe, who has been dealing with the issues articulately, and of course that of Dr. Presley Osemenge, and of course Comrade Collins Osagai. Now let's come back to you, Collins. Now we look at this issue of scam in the petrol subsidy. Now what beats me hollow is that even though we believe that the system on the petrol subsidy scam or corruption has been eradicated by the remover of the petrol subsidy, we still see on the pages of the newspaper that they smuggle fuel, from our country's borders, to other countries. Now, do you see the petrol subsidy, the new prices we're having, as a way that could be seen as corrupt and also to exploit the common man?
No, I would not take it so. First, I want to thank even those to whom it may concern. If it's for the ship that was confiscated yesterday, that was almost taking off our crude away, it's only going to show that the government of Asiwaju is already working. We have seen in the previous government where ships have been said to have taken away our crude. They tell us they want to intercept them at the front and what have you. At the end, the ships is never found. Some have got missing right inside the sea. We were here. In Jonathan's government, there was one that was attributed to one woman. I don't want to mention name on her. And suddenly, they said they couldn't find the ship anymore. But thank God for the one of yesterday.
So it's a plus to
it's a good plus for Asiwaju's government, who have just started with all form of transparency at all sectors. Now we've been hitting on the subsidy. The subsidy investigation has started. Everything has been surrounding the central bank and Dr. Emefiele. From the Jonathan government till now, Central Bank is the chairman and director of subsidy scamming. Because it is from there they distribute the funds for subsidies. All those who are the contractors to either help to import the so-called premium spirits get their take from the Central Bank of
Okay, but you should be careful. But you should be careful the way you make spurious allegations.
You can't
say the secret. You can't say you can't indict the secret.
Even government have said it.
In fact, whatever opinions you have should not degenerate to
it is not bad.
You misinform.
I expect you to know this better. I expect you to, because even government over the time have said that. Even when this issue of subsidy became a hit hammer.
Okay.
The marketers will tell you, or those who were in charge will tell you that the federal government have not paid what they are supposed to pay through the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Central Bank is only paying.
I'm calling Oga, you pay. When you pay, you should know whom you are paying. When you pay, you should know who you are. When you pay, when they ask you, when the president or the Ministry of Petroleum, as it were, headed by the president, for example, approved and say, pay this to help import fuel, Central Bank. I'm sure they will not just tell you verbally. They send the document to the Central Bank, which forthwith help them to either through dollar or through whatever means to giving those who are in charge. And the marketers today will cry and tell you CBN did not release money for them to be able to do what they are supposed to do. And today, Abacha, who is in charge of Nigeria NNPC, have even said that federal government through NNPC is owing them.
Okay.
So we cannot take that far away. Now, the issue of Emefiele arrest is covering both the bank investigation, both the money policies, and both the...
You've articulated your point.
And both the first...
You've articulated your point. Now, don't forget, the aspect before us has to do with the Abacha loot. And I asked you that question so that you can muster some muzzle, to look at the next question that will be coming, in the aspect of legitimacy in governance. Some believe that the president, as we speak, may not have that legitimacy from, as in public support, looking at the issues concerning, the presidential election. And some are of the impression that if the president must get it right in terms of getting the support of the public, he should ensure that he shows leadership by example, by ensuring that all of this has to do with the projects of the people, as regards the Abacha loot is brought to a conclusion. Now, do you see the President Tinubu's government as having issues about legitimacy crisis?
When people talk about legitimacy, who then legitimizes people? It is the statutory body. The certificate that was given to him have legitimized him. Everybody does not need to like him. Even if you turn the whole Nigeria to a tiled road and they put food on people's table, there are people who will genuinely, to their own conviction, not still like you. You feed them, or you give them money to even pay their children's school fees. They still don't like you.
But don't forget, we have issues again, litigations.
I am coming. That is where it comes.
Because you made mention of certificate being given to you.
I am coming now here to certify. At this point,
that may not all go well.
At this point,
we still have issues in the
that may not all go well.
That
may not all go well to some who have other interests, who probably wants to be minister or want to be something under the other man.
Okay, but what do you think? But what do you think the president should be doing?
You will not allow me learn,
to gain legitimacy as suspected?
Allow me learn. He already have a genuine legitimacy by way of that mandate he has been given. If the court says otherwise, which certainly is not going to be, because majority is what determines the governance system in democracy. If majority have said go and you have gone, and some people say you don't have results, and come later tell you he has results, what else do you want? Now we are going further. Now, delivering on services is basic to Nigerians.
Okay.
We want him to give us the basic things we need: security, good roads, good monetary policies, accountability, as a way of people being more endeared into you. What we should be asking now is not legitimacy, is how can people enjoy more into him and into his governance. How can he set a stage for us that even when he leaves, we will have institutions running and people will queue behind and they will be delivering based on record that he will set for us? That is what we want now. We want somebody to help us redefine how things are supposed to work, so that even when he's not there, somebody become president of the Federal Republic, I cannot just wake up and change the paper. And we work with the extant law that has been designed. That is what we did. And that is what we pray he does. Because now no man is infallible. Now let me tell you, he's not an island. Anybody can make mistakes, even in governance. But no perfect human being. If you can do well in this area and not do well in the other area, that is why they say government is continuity. Because there is no perfect person.
Right,
so we should not expect that he will come, he will build road, he will do sport, he will do, like in Edo State, for example. Now you can see the way Abacha government has done well in sports. In sport, he has done extremely well in all facets of sports in Edo, even though he has not done too well in the other area.
Even though this is not what we are discussing today.
No, I just want to give an example.
Thank you. You've articulated a point.
Of the government.
You've articulated a point.
The insurance have been struggling for over 10 years.
The issue we have here is not better insurance.
Concentration.
All right.
No, I just wanted to give.
Thank you.
You've
exhausted your point. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I have not exhausted.
Why are you jumping me?
No. I've not landed.
You have.
It's your talk.
Honestly, I gave you a record just now. I said you've been acting very squarely. But
so don't become
unfair.
I
was even calm. Next we're moving again.
No, it was my turn.
Have I mentioned any name?
No, you haven't. But you
I was trying to make reference to what he said so that you can cue in.
Okay, sir.
Now, looking at the remarks that has been said so far, it's expected because a lot has been said. He said he does not want to opinionate on the government for now. So, are you saying that is a wise thing to do, looking at the number of days, not up to 60 days, that the president, has been on board? Don't you think it would be too
premature?
Yeah, premature, or it would be too quick for you to say? Because earlier you were making mention of the fact that from what you can see, that the government is not going to do well in that direction. Don't you think it would be too quick for you to make that judgment?
Yeah, Mr. Philip, I'm not a prophet too.
Okay.
I love Nigeria and I love Nigerians. As a Nigerian, as a patron of Nigeria, I want the best for us. I want the best for this country.
Okay, so what do you urge the government to do in your closing remarks?
Yes, my closing remark. I love the person of Ebola Tinubu. I love him so much. You can have this charisma and aura that if he desires a thing, he will get it. I love that his nature. The only thing I want him to bring to bear Nigeria now is to bring good governance. That's what we want. But let me make allusion to something that is very critical that we all Nigerians should understand. Having an independent, viable, and strong working institution that is independent of any harms of the government is critical to our survival as a nation, survival to our democracy, and for our own development. In a situation whereby we still have somebody who still appoints from the executive arm of government, be the head of this, be the head of this, we may not get it right. It's going to be a problem. Okay. We want an institution that will work independently, irrespective who is there. For example, the appointment of the removal of EFCC and also the CBN governor. I expected
the suspension.
The suspension. I expected this government to have done a proper investigation. Due process will be followed through the rule of law. They will be removed. Now, I'm aware of a case making, I think the case of addiction was made to the issue of a former Minister of Petroleum, that was Diani, that a property was to be, investigated by EFCC in London. And that property was later sold to the son of his current president.
All right. And now, don't forget I said you're closing remarks.
I'm making it. That's why I said we need, all I want is good governance.
Okay.
So
you don't see the president having legitimacy issues?
No. For me, like what he said, currently legitimacy has been given to him by the virtue of INEC, giving a result. Nobody can change that, except otherwise by the court.
Okay.
So that's it.
Thank you. Your closing remarks in all of this.
I want to say very categorically that the present administration under Bola Ahmed Tinubu has no legitimacy.
Oh, you can't say that.
I will tell you why it is legal.
But don't forget, I said your closing remarks.
I said your closing remarks. While it is legal it is illegitimate. It is illegitimate in that our very democratic system does not demand legitimacy for the presidential for presidential elections. In that our presidential election demands the candidate with the highest number of votes being pronounced winner. Asiwaju scored less than 40% of the total number of votes cast. To be legitimate, you have to have 50% or above. That is what you...
Well, no. I think we don't have the time. We don't have the right panelists to discuss this.
I'm saying that.
I think you are taking it, you are pushing it too far.
No, excuse me.
You are pushing it too far.
No. A democratic government must enjoy majority, which is above 50%. Thank you. If you do not have that, you are not considered legitimate.
Thank you. Let's take your closing remarks. Thank you. I think that's your closing remarks.
Please.
You've said your closing remarks.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you
in
very much.
In 1 minute.
For me, Nigerians are enjoying the administration they are seeing already. And he's already poisoned.
You can't say that.
This government.
No, when you say Nigeria enjoy.
When you were close.
No, I said
let him finish.
I'm here.
No. Let him finish.
It's his opinion.
A little bit deceived.
I'll come back to you.
I am not enjoying it.
No.
I know Nigerians enjoying it. Because why?
We are not enjoying
it. Also, there's a lot of
Nigerians can't enjoy it.
Because
I may issue you a yellow card. Dr. Presley.
When you are anti, you can't enjoy it.
I am not anti.
If somebody can say that,
what do you mean by enjoying?
Now,
I think you
enjoying what?
Now, let me learn. Yes. By virtue of giving him the benefit of the doubt, to continue to bring to bear, you can see the peaceful manner in which Nigerians be going. You can see the level in which security is already being worked on. You can see the changes already that have been done in the security architecture.
That's not
I am coming, sir.
But are you saying all this are already translated to the gains?
Yes. I can bet you. Within this 1 month plus. Within this 1 month plus.
Thank you, comrade.
Even if some persons will say, "Oh, fuel is," we cannot continue to hide on that.
Thank you, comrade Colin Sosaga. Big thanks to you, Dr. Presley.
That the benefit is already.
Big thanks to you, Fred Uyigwe. Well, this is much you can take. We may not have it every time the same way, and we're going to be having more of this banter in a healthy way. Well, shortly we'll be bringing you business rendezvous. From all of us, it's goodbye.
That is not the difference.